Hey guys, Carmine Bianco, WagerTalk.com with another preview edition for the top 5 leagues in Europe. This is the third one. We're covering Serie A and Bundesliga. If you've made it through the first 2 shows, God bless you and thank you for tuning in. Let's bring in the guys, Kevin Dolan, Nick Borman from WagerTalk.com, and Pavlos Lagaretos from Sports Memo. Guys, let's get right to it. We're going to start with Serie A, but let's talk about some of the big names or some of the names that are coming back to Serie A, some players returning, and a couple of new faces as well. You guys know, I'm not going to hide it. I'm a big Juve supporter. They've got Pogba back. Somehow they figure out how to bring this guy in on a free transfer, sell him for $100 million to Man United, and then get him back from Man United for free. That is some great bookkeeping from them. They also bring in Di Maria on a free transfer. They love the free transfers. They do. Juventus from PSG. They strengthened their defense. I think they got rid of De Ligt. They move him for a lot of money to Bayern Munich. They bring in Bremer from Torino. I think that's almost a like for like. A lot of guys like De Ligt. I wasn't too big on him. I just didn't think he fit into the style of play for them. And then guess who's back for Inter, guys? It's Romelu Lukaku. Any other big names, guys? Or did I mention them all? Anything you guys want to touch on?
I hate to burst your bubble, Carmine, but I think I read a couple hours ago, right, that Pogba was going to be out for a couple of months to start the season. Had some big injuries.
Yeah, he suffered a knee injury. He suffered an injury to his, I think his knee, his meniscus. So it was not unexpected. In talking with a bunch of my UA friends, I said, what do we give him, like a month into the season before he gets injured? He didn't even give us that. He gave us one game against, I think it was against Chivas, Guadalajara. I think that's who they played in Vegas. So they play tonight, the day of this show being aired, which is the 26th. They're playing in Texas against Barcelona tonight. But any other big names? I'll tell you one thing. The team I'm surprised with is there's still a lot of moves to happen with a couple of weeks away from the league's starting. But Napoli, there's some turnover there. Lorenzo Insigne gone. He is here in Toronto, where I am, playing for Toronto FC. I saw him on the weekend in a big 4-0 win. He looked pretty good. Dries Mertens gone. You look at Koulibaly, their best defender, I think the heart of that team. He's with Chelsea now. And now there's rumors of Man United making a bid. They make a bid for everybody, but Man United making a bid for Osimhen of Napoli as well, too. They're looking at getting some big names in as well, too. But Pavlos, anything there?
No, I think Napoli are losers in this transfer window. They also lost David Ospina. They didn't bring. They brought like mediocre options, Kvaratskhelia, like a Georgian. He's probably the best Georgian player out there. But I mean, this is Napoli, and going from Insigne, Osimhen, and Mertens to Ostigard and Kvaratskhelia, and I don't know. That's gonna be looks like it's gonna be a bad season for Napoli. I like what Juve did. I love what Inter did. I love what Roma did. But AC Milan. I also love what Atalanta did. AC Milan, not so much. I think they're gonna bring in a couple of more players. And Fiorentina, I mean, they used that Vlahovic money to bring in a couple of players, but it looks like Luka Jovic from Real Madrid is gonna probably try to close that gap that presented itself in the striker position. But I think that Inter Milan are one of the big winners. Also, Juventus with Bremer from Torino. He's a really solid center back. They trimmed the fat with a lot of players. I think they sent like 5 players on a free transfer to the MLS. But Pogba is a nice addition. Angel Di Maria is a nice addition. Federico Chiesa is also a nice addition. So I think this is a bounce back year for Juventus. And Inter, I love the fact that they got Onana on a free transfer from Ajax and Mkhitaryan from Roma, which is they have quite a few players up there, but I think Mkhitaryan is going to be like a nice addition for the flanks or for the number 10 position. But yeah, I think Napoli are the big losers from the big teams.
Yeah, and you mentioned Roma, and obviously Roma bringing in Dybala from Juventus, who they got for free as well too. So Jose Mourinho putting together a team there that could battle for a top 4 spot. And then, as Kevin mentioned, with the injury to Pogba, it'll be interesting to see because Juve still have some money left over from some of these moves that they made in selling some players. I know that they want to get from Roma. I would love to see him come. One of the Azzurri players, Zaniolo, he would look great there. And with Chiesa coming back from an injury, the former Fiorentina man and a big part of the Azzurri winning the Euros, him with Dusan Vlahovic, I think will be a big one. But with that said, let's kick it right off, guys. Future bets. I'll jump in there first. I love Serie A. I had a fantastic season last year at WagerTalk, number 1 in with Serie A plays. Very profitable one. So I'm going to look at, we're being transparent here. I said I'm a big fan, so there's a little bit of bias to this, but I think the players coming in are going to make a big difference to this team with Chiesa coming back and Vlahovic leading the attack. I'm going to take Juve. They're the second choices behind Inter Milan to win the title. Plus 187. I am going to take them to win the title. And of course, I'm going to take the top goal scorer market, plus 333 on Dusan Vlahovic to win the top goal scorer. I think he was 3 back last year of Immobile for the final number, spending some of his time with Fiorentina, some of his time with Juventus, missing a few games. But now having players, some players who can attack like Di Maria, like Pogba, having the support of Chiesa, I think it's going to create a lot of space for him. I think he's a finisher. And at that price, plus 333, I've got to take him. So Dusan Vlahovic to win top goal scorer for me. Those are my 2 future plays. Nick, I'm going to go to you next. You, I think, are going to use some XG numbers here. And I think you're going to disagree with me on both of my plays with your 2. So let's hear it.
Yes, that is true. And yes, expected goals is where I always start. I mean, Inter was so far ahead of the rest of the league in terms of expected goals. I mean, just their offensive numbers were absolutely ridiculous. 2.38 per game, the only team over 2 last season. Yes, Juve has added a crap ton. They're clearly desperate to get back to the top of the table and win the league again. But as Pavlos kind of mentioned with Barcelona, it may take some time for those guys to find a rhythm together. Inter, I think one signing that we didn't mention that I think could be very, very big for Inter is the fact that they have Correa from Lazio now on the team as well this year, who's a good addition and I think will be a big factor. Obviously, Lukaku is going to get right back into scoring goals with this team. That's where he was. He scored 47 goals and 11 assists in 2 seasons with them prior to his Chelsea bout last year and helped them win that title. So I think he'll be right back in there. But I think it's just going to be hard for anybody to make up the difference of what they're doing behind the scenes. I mean, AC Milan was clearly lucky as far as expected goals go to win that league last year. And they got, a lot of close wins. They did what they had to. They scored when they needed to and played great defense. But behind the scenes, I think it's going to be Inter. Plus 175. For top goal scorer, I mentioned that transfer Correa, which actually takes away one additional striker for Lazio. So Immobile, plus 400 to be the top goal scorer. He was the winner here this past season. His tallies the last 6 years at Lazio, which he has a strong history of staying healthy, which is obviously important when you're looking at a goal scoring guy. 27 last year. So each of the last 6 years, he's got 27, 20, 36. One down year at 15, 29, and 23. So if he's, half of those numbers are going to win this title. So he's got a good chance, and he's had another half dozen assists in each of those years as well, just in case there's a tie with goals. So I'll also add that for Lazio, their defense just stinks. So as far as trying to score goals, they're always going to have to push for goals, and that's the one thing Juve have is a strong defense and always do. So perhaps there's just enough times where Juve has a lead late in the game. They don't have to push for goals. They just have to see the thing out. And it takes just those few opportunities away for Vlahovic versus Immobile. And I think maybe that's enough to push Immobile back to the top of the goal scorer. So 4-1, I think it's pretty good value on him.
All right. I would love to say I like those plays, Nick, but I don't because you're going against mine. Kev, I'm going to go to you next. I can't believe what I'm about to hear, but go ahead.
Well, funny story. You guys already know this, but I had Dusan Vlahovic last season as my top goal scorer. I believe I got him at 17-1, and it looked fantastic. I think he was actually leading at one point when he was with Fiorentina, and then he moved to Juve, and that's all she wrote for my 17-1, which I was pretty disappointed at. But anyway, regardless of that, relegation-wise in Serie, I think the best value on the board is Sampdoria, at plus 300 again. This team was hot garbage over the back half of last season, ranked as the second worst team in expected points from January 1st on. Their attacks absolutely woeful. They had the league's lowest XG over the final 19 games of the season as well. So I don't see how this team gets much better, in all honesty. I mean, they still rely on Fabio Quagliarella up front. I mean, the guy's absolutely ancient at this stage. He's so old, I think he stops by the post office to pick up his pension on the way to the ground. And they decide to help him out by bringing in 34-year-old Francesco Caputo from Sassuolo this season as well. So, this is what happened to this team last year. They start out okay. They have a decent overall squad, but the attack and full forward line is basically a nursing home for old age Italian vets at this stage. So I think the exact same thing is going to happen to Sampdoria this season as what happened to them last season, namely a monumental drop-off at the midpoint of the season because they're so old. This time I don't see them surviving. So could be a decent angle of live bet them at Christmas time as well. But Sampdoria for me for the drop this season in Serie A, I think 3-1 is a nice price on that. But in terms of a best bet for this league, I'm gonna agree with Nick again. I like Inter to win the title this year, pretty much because obviously we both follow XG, right? So it's always going to be natural that we're going to agree with this. But AC Milan vastly outperformed the data last year. In fairness to AC Milan, that's 2 seasons on the trot in which they've managed to do that. But, you would imagine at some stage their luck has to run out. Obviously, now with Frank Kessie gone to Barcelona as well, that's a lot more likely. But this is a 2-horse race this year between Juventus and Inter Milan. As you said at the start, Juventus have upgraded. But there was some scary signs for me with Juventus last year, especially at the end of the year. They ranked the 11th best team over the final 8 games of the season, netted just 3 wins total at arguably the most critical stage of the season. So, we know Lukaku will love to be back in the old blue and black of Inter. He's bagged 47 goals over his previous 2 seasons here. And, Joaquin Correa comes over from Lazio as well, as Nick said. So if you're going to give me plus 175, I think Inter to win the Scudetto is a good bet.
All right. Kevin Dolan, WagerTalk.com. And it's pronounced Quagliarella. So, but then I am Italian, so I should be able to get that one right. But yeah, Nick Borman and Kevin Dolan, both with Inter plus 175 to win the league. Guys, tune in next week on Wager Talk Stoppage Time, where it's just Pavlos and I, and we'll as we search for 2 new cappers to come on the show. Pavlos, give us your future plays for Serie A.
Okay, first play I'm gonna make is I'm gonna take Juventus for winners at plus 187. Again, I think they're not done making transfers, but I love what they did with the team. I think they're missing one maybe creative midfielder now that Pogba, he's injured. I'm not sure when he's gonna be back. First reports say a couple of months. But still, they're stacked in the defensive midfielder with Zakaria, Arthur, and Locatelli. Pogba can also play as a holding midfielder. McKennie should be ready to go. But their offense is probably going to be manned by Vlahovic up front and Di Maria and Chiesa in either flank. Their defense is probably Bonucci and Bremer are going to be the starting center backs. I think all they're missing is maybe a creative midfielder. So I think they made some great additions. They trimmed the fats, and Inter Milan, who are their main competitors, again, I think they have like 7 strikers right now. I think they're going to be moving either Dzeko or Alexis Sanchez, maybe Lautaro Martinez. But still, I think Inter Milan are not done with their transfers either, because they lack a couple of reliable center backs. Maybe they get an addition there, and of course they have a couple of great creative midfielders with Çalhanoğlu and Mkhitaryan. Maybe they could do with another midfielder and maybe a center back. But as for AC Milan, I don't really think they're gonna repeat what they did last season. And Napoli, again, they're really, really bad. And Roma, they now play in the Europa League. So I think that Juventus, again, after a rough season last year, are going to be the clear winners of this competition. As for the top scorer, I'm going to go with Vlahovic plus 333. He's a proven striker, and maybe unless Lukaku has like a monster season in his return to Inter Milan, I think Vlahovic is going to be at least in the top 2, top 3 top scorers of this league, and with a couple of just a bit of luck, I think we'll get paid at plus 333. And now, as for the top 4, I'm gonna pick Atalanta at plus 200. Again, as I said, Inter Milan and Juventus are gonna be probably battling for the top spot. AC Milan, maybe they'll be the third team to get a European ticket for the Champions League. Napoli, who are the third favorites. The fourth favorites, actually, I don't trust them at all. I think they'll finish maybe even outside the Europa League spots. Roma are kind of sneaky. You can get them at plus 150. But Atalanta, they made some great additions. They stacked that midfield even more. They have some proven strikers in Zapata and Muriel. They have pretty solid defense, and I think they're ready to have a really, really solid season. So I like Atalanta to finish inside the top 4 at plus 200.
All right, Pavlos Lagaretos. I like that Atalanta one as well too. That team seemed to have it looked like they lost their heart last year with the big with Papu Gomez leaving, going to Sevilla after a bit of a row with his manager. But we'll see how that team fares this year, and they could be the benefits of, like you said, what looks like it might be a down year for the team in Naples. Guys, let's get over to Bundesliga, and we'll finish off the show talking about this league. Obviously, we'll bring in the boys. It's not about who came in, it's about who left. Obviously, 2 of the biggest names in the Bundesliga leaving, with Erling Haaland, the Borussia Dortmund striker, and going to Man City on a big transfer. And then, of course, this one I didn't expect to happen. Robert Lewandowski leaving to go to Barcelona. Haaland's going to be replaced by Sebastian Haller coming over from Ajax. So we'll see if he can fill some of that scoring. And, of course, Sadio Mane from Liverpool coming in, and he's got some big shoes to fill. Any other big moves, guys, or are those the ones that just stand out?
I think Dortmund.
Go ahead, Pavlos.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. Dortmund, I loved what they did with Sebastian Haller from Ajax, but sadly, really, really sadly, he was diagnosed with cancer. So it's a really sad situation for the guy and for for his family and for everyone there. We all wish him the best. At 100%, Sebastian Haller is going to be a game changer for this Dortmund side. Of course, they also brought in Karim Adeyemi from Salzburg, who is a really, really talented forward, who's probably going to pick up all the slack that he can pick up in this Dortmund side. Of course, they also reinforced their defense with Nico Slotterbeck from Freiburg and Niklas Süle from Bayern, who is kind of a giant. He's talented, but he's really, really slow. He can maybe have a nice, season over at Dortmund. Frankfurt also made some great additions. But Bayern, I think they're big winners, and they made some great additions, and with a fraction of what other teams paid. I mean, they brought in Ryan Gravenberch from Ajax for just 19 million. He's like the Dutch next best thing in the midfield. He's like like a poor man's Jude Bellingham. He's a very talented, strong, tall midfielder with an all-around game. And they also brought in right back Mazraoui from Ajax on a free transfer, who, the right back position has been kind of a pain in the butt for Bayern Munich, but now I think they made a really, really great addition for this. And of course, they also brought De Ligt from Juventus. And I think, but the prices on Bayern Munich to win the title are just laughable. So I personally looked elsewhere. But yeah, those are the big winners, I think.
All right. It should be an exciting season. We'll see what happens there. But let's get to some futures, and I'll kick it off. I'm not going to take a league winner or a top 3 or a top 4. I'm going to look at a couple different markets here. I'm going to look at, first of all, I'm going to take one out of Kevin Dolan's book, and I'm going to look at the relegation numbers, and I'm going to take Augsburg plus 110 to get relegated. Last year, they were near the bottom for much of the season. They sort of pulled it out, winning 5 of the last 10 games to pull themselves out of that relegation zone. I don't think they're going to be as lucky this season. I think this is another team that's going to be stuck in the bottom 4 or 5 of the league this season, and lose a bigger share of their games and likely end up in one of those bottom 3 spots. So we'll see how that fares. And I'm going to go with a big price here. Someone's got to fill the shoes for Lewandowski, and I'm looking at Sadio Mane to do that. He is going to be playing with a team that plays obviously an up-tempo style of play, much like Liverpool, but he's likely to be the featured guy in this. There's a couple prices available on him. You can get over 20 goals at plus 137. I'm going to take that one step further and go over 25 goals. You can get 6-1 or plus 600 on that number for him to fill that hole. So we'll see if he can do it. And if he does, we're going to be rewarded with a very nice plus 600 price. Nick, I'm going to go to you next. Let's look at the XG numbers and your team to win Bundesliga.
You mentioned Mane. There's at 30 goals. It's a really big number. If you think he can get up to that number, that's Lewandowski like. But hey, somebody's got to score up there for him. So yeah, Bayern. I mean, clearly it'd be a very big surprise if they don't yet win again. So on Bet365, there's a great future bet available where it's called the German Double: Bayern to win the Bundesliga and the DFB Pokal, which is the German Cup competition. Bundesliga, like I said, in very, very little doubt. For the Cup, it's interesting. If you go back this century, right, so all the way back to prior to 2000, Bayern have never gone more than 2 seasons without winning the Cup. And, of course, they haven't won it each of the last 2. So history tells us that they're going to step up and they're going to win that thing this year. So that's the only way you can get any sort of a plus number on Bayern to win anything this year, is maybe combining both competitions, the German double. So I think there's a good chance there. You guys already talked about their addition, so I don't need to get into that too much. And, Dortmund may be the only team that can compete with them, but I look at Dortmund's transfer window as like a bad trade that's offered me in fantasy baseball, where I have like one superstar and the guy wants to give me like 3 or 4 guys. I'm like, I don't even have room to put all 4 of them on the field. I needed that one good guy. This doesn't help me at all. So we'll see how they do. Without Bayern in the picture, I'm going to look at Leipzig, plus 175 to win without Bayern. Goes hand in hand with my breakdown of Bayern. Leipzig had the second best expected goal differential last year. Solid offense, 1.98 expected goals per game. They haven't had a ton of major changes so far in the window, but if you look at their history, that's kind of what they do and what they are. They're a relatively new team in Europe, right? But a lot of their talent comes from within. They have feeder programs. You have the New York Red Bulls, you have Red Bull Salzburg, and they always have a good farm system. So they don't have a lot of big name signings. They did lose Tyler Adams, which will hurt them a little bit on the defensive side. But Javier Schlager is a good addition for the midfield in Wolfsburg. And then, I just don't see many other challengers. I think Dortmund obviously is that case, but I just don't know how they're going to fill Haaland's shoes. When we saw him missing last year, they really struggled to get somebody to finish the ball. So I think Leipzig is the best value without Dortmund in the mix.
All right, Nick Borman of WagerTalk.com. Kev, what do you got going for us? I have a reoccurring theme with you, but you don't have a relegation play for us on this one, do you?
Well, I do. I mean, I definitely have an opinion. It's fully in agreement with yours, and also I'll just say if Harry Kane wants to win anything other than an Audi Cup over the course of his career, he's going to have to make that move to Bayern this season. But I'm in fully agreement with you, Carmine. Augsburg, that's who I pencil in for relegation. The books of Augsburg pencil in as the favourites to go down as well. It's obvious to see why this team are trash. They finished only marginally ahead of the two automatic relegated teams last year. Arminia Bielefeld and Gruer fourth and expected points totals, and have basically done nothing in the summer transfer window either. So I completely agree with you on Augsburg. Little outsider pick maybe on top four with Union Berlin. They finished fifth in the table last year, but that was no fluke. Union Berlin finished with the fifth most expected points in the league, along with the league's second best defensive XGA ranking as well. So they went on an absolute tear over the last portion of the season, went undefeated over the final 8 games. They won 7 of them outright. So this could be a dark horse team for a top 4 finish, and they're going off at 14-1. So you're getting well compensated for the risk. Best bet for me, though, again, Nick touched on it. We're going to have to go, we're going to have to stop going to him first because he's still in Lonely Thunder. But yeah, to win without market regarding Bayern, I love that plus 175 price in RB Leipzig. I was riding this team's coattails most of last season. For anyone who's been following the show for a while, my main futures play for last year was on Leipzig to win the Europa League at 14-1. It went down as low as minus 140 at one point. Unbelievable now thinking back on it. Before leg one, the semi-final against Rangers looked like an absolute banker. And I still can't believe Rangers, of all teams, are the ones to put my ticket up and smoke. But look, the quality of this Leipzig team was there to be seen last season. They were way down 11th. After Jesse Marsch got fired, Domenico Tedesco came in, completely revamped the team. They went on an absolute demolition spree from that point on, ranked as the number 1 team in the Bundesliga from January 1st on, even over Bayern. So if they can keep that same energy going here to kick off this new season, this is a dangerous team. I don't think they'll have enough to unseat Bayern for the top spot, but that plus 175 price them to finish as runners-up certainly looks appealing to me.
Yep, Kevin Dolan of WagerTalk.com. And yeah, you did have that future. I'm not sure if you decided to hedge that out or not. I know you're not a big hedge better, but plus 14-1. I think anyone who followed along, who took that route, still end up making money on that. Did you or did you not hedge it before we get to Pavlos?
No, I didn't, because A, it was Rangers, and B, it was only the semi-final. So I thought, again, minus 140. Everybody expected them. No one expected Rangers to beat them. I can't. Let's stop.
They never do, but they somehow get there. Pavlos, close off the futures for us. You've got 3 different ones for us. Tell us what you got.
Yeah, as I said before, taking the minus 500 on the Bayern Munich is just a no-go for me. Maybe you can stick it in a parlay. I don't know. But I think that if anybody can challenge them for the title this season, that's Dortmund. But, I'm really waiting for some good news with Sebastian Haller, because if this team is healthy, they're scary. And, Adeyemi and Haller up front, Marco Reus and Julian Brandt behind them. Of course, you got Gio Reyna there. You have Jude Bellingham. They really stacked in the midfield and forward positions. Of course, they made some great additions with Zule and Slotterbeck at the back. They also have Mats Hummels and Guerreiro. Nico Schulz is coming off a bad season, but he was really good a couple of seasons ago. So if anything, if any team can challenge them, it's Dortmund. So I like Dortmund to win the league at plus 800. Again, it's a long shot, but again, if anybody can challenge them, that's Dortmund. Then for the top scorer, again, I'm not so sure how Sadio Mane will fare in this Bayern Munich side. I know he's a really good player, but have you seen him? He's he's a really small guy, and the Bundesliga defenders are really tough. Of course, he's coming off the APL, where again the defenders are tough. There is a physical game, but I think it might take some time for Sadio Mane to gel in this side. Of course, they don't have a true striker, this Bayern Munich side, with Leroy Sané, Gnabry and Coman and Mane. They're all playing as wingers. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, as for the top scorer, I'm gonna take Nkunku, who had a really, really great season last year with 20 goals in the Bundesliga. He scored 4 goals in the Cup and 4 goals in the Europa League. That is, unless he's moved, which I don't really know if he's gonna be moved either now or in the winter transfer window. But this Red Bull Leipzig side, they've stopped using Poulsen as a center forward. They moved to Andres Silva, who is not so effective. So again, I think Nkunku is on track to repeat another good season where he plays behind or as a second striker or behind the strikers, and he's a really sneaky guy and he can really do some damage. So I like Nkunku to be the top scorer at plus 900. And now for a more realistic approach, I love what Frankfurt did in the transfer window. They brought in Mario Götze, who is a really proven creating midfielder. They brought in Lucas Alario from Bayer Leverkusen, who again, he can be great at times. And the only problem is that Filip Kostic, who is their best player or used to be their best player on the left flank, he's getting some offers from the EPL and from other leagues. But if he stays, I truly believe that this Frankfurt side can finish inside the top 4. But the odds suggest that Bayern Munich, Dortmund, Leipzig, and Leverkusen are going to be one of the the top 4 sides. But I think Frankfurt at plus 350 has the best potential to make a push for that top 4 spot. So I like Frankfurt to finish inside the top 4 plus 350.
All right, Pavlos Lagaretos of Sports Memo, and your mention of Sadio Mane, hopefully within that Bayern system, where I would think he'd be the featured guy, even with the talent around him. It was a lot different at Liverpool. His last 4 years at Liverpool, 22, 18, 11, and 16 goals scored, the 18 coming in 3 years back when Liverpool won the league title. So we'll see if he can crack that 20 or 25 barrier for me. Guys, let's look at the recap. But before that recap, I want to mention the promo code one more time on the show. You can get $75 off a full season of the league of your choice. So if you want just the Serie A games, you can get the Serie A games. If you're on Bundesliga, you get those, or EPL. You go to your favorite cappers page on this show. You click on the soccer drop-down menu. You'll see that seasons are separated separately. $2.99. You can get $75 off that with the coupon code NEW75. It's a limited time offer, so use NEW75 to get $75 off that $2.99 regular price for the full season of all prop plays, all future bets, and all game plays each and every weekend and weekday for that league. So let's do a quick recap of all the future bets on this show. If you missed the early start of it, I have Juventus plus 187 to win the league. Dusan Vlahovic plus 333 to win the top scorer in Serie A. And in Bundesliga, Augsburg to get relegated at plus 110. And Sadio Mane to have a good year, 25 or more goals, plus 600. Nick Borman plus 175 on Inter Milan to win the title, and Ciro Immobile plus 400 to win the top goal scorer. Bundesliga, Bayern Munich to win both the Bundesliga and the DFB Pokal at plus 187. That is the German Cup. And then RB Leipzig plus 175 to win the league without Bayern Munich. So basically finishing top 2. In the league at plus 175. Kevin Dolan, Inter Milan plus 175 to win the Italian Serie A league, and RB Leipzig plus 175 to finish top 2 or to win the league without Bayern Munich. And of course, Pavlos, Juventus plus 187 to win the league. Dusan Vlahovic plus 333 to win top goal scorer, and top 4 Atalanta plus 200. Dortmund plus 700 to win the league top goal scorer. Nkunku plus 900, and Frankfurt plus 350 to finish top 4. That's quite a bit there. Guys, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Take advantage of those promos for each one of these guys that are on the show. You can use that coupon code as many times as you want. August the 5th, first game in Europe. It'll be Chelsea and Crystal Palace to kick off the new European season in domestic leagues. We look forward to having a very profitable season with you guys. Every Tuesday, 10 a.m., we will have a live show Thanks for tuning in, and good luck with your wagers.